Mr. President, before I start my speech today on another topic, I want to take just a moment to discuss what's on all of our hearts across the country and across the world, and that's that we should be praying for the Ukrainian people. We have got a mess in Ukraine. A lot of us have been to Ukraine over the last few months. We've made friends. I went over and met with the president a few months ago and a lot of his staff, and what good people. But they told us then that they needed help. And for some reason, this administration decided to drag its feet, tried to talk its way out of it. Sometimes when you try to talk your way out of it, instead of putting facts in front of you, you have problems. Well, we've had real problems. President Putin, who is a murderous tyrant, thought this was going to be easy. He didn't realize that the people of Ukraine were going to stand up and fight for their country, and they've done just that. They've lost many lives, Ukrainian soldiers, men and women, and also many, many citizens. But it has made NATO stronger. Putin never thought that would happen. So as I said earlier, I think that we all should remember every day and every night our prayers go out to the Ukrainians, and hopefully in the near future we can all come to some kind of consensus of what works best, and that President Putin will come to his senses and call this off. Other thing I want to talk about real quickly is rising prices, inflation. I was back in my home state of Alabama this week, and prices are at historic highs and getting higher every day. But we were told by this administration that inflation was transitory. We heard that all last year. Definition of transitory, not for long. Well, they were very wrong on that. I also said inflation was due to COVID. Well, COVID is not gone, but it has died down, and inflation is getting higher. We were told by this administration that it was due to corporate greed. Well, we've had the same corporations for years and years. Inflation has been low, but now it's still going higher and higher. And the last reason that this administration said inflation is going up is because of war. And there's probably something to that. Obviously, we've got an energy crisis in this country, and everything runs off of energy. But one thing this administration didn't tell us was they didn't blame it on the trillions of dollars that we basically have taken and thrown out of helicopters all over this country. We've got more money now, 36% more money than we had 2 years ago in this country, and we have less goods. And that's when you have inflationary prices that creep up. But we've got to get control of our energy crisis. If we don't do that, then the economy is not going to have a chance. That's the bottom line. That's the basics of the economy. Anybody's economy is your energy. Our farmers are getting killed with planting as we speak. They're in the fields, paying more and more every day for their fuel. Small businesses are struggling with rates that are climbing at double and triple the rates in terms of being shipped their goods, and they're having to pay the price for that. And then the price goes up and the American consumer pays that much more. So we got a problem. And we better get control of that in the very near future, or our economy is going to continue to go down and continue to get in debt. So we've got those two problems, that one at home and one on the road. It's a road game in Ukraine, and hopefully we can help out the Ukrainian people, give them what they need to continue to fight. But as we watch television each day, they continue to lose ground each day. But they're going to fight for what they believe in, and that's their freedom. My topic today, though, is, I think it's something that we need to listen to from the people across this country. It's not war. It's not inflation. It has something to do with basically life here in this country. To be their voice, I'm advocating on the people's behalf of this country. So let me read you a little bit about something that come from my people in Alabama. A constituent from Talladega County writes, quote, "Daylight savings time year-round means the elderly, like myself, will be able to be more active in early evenings." Another from Mobile writes, quote, "Please try and do whatever it is necessary to have daylight savings time permanent in the state of Alabama and our country. Everyone knows, and everyone that I talk to, they want more daylight in the evening." And this is from a mental health professional. Quote, "I am writing to let you know of the negative effects of my population of having the time change the way it does in November towards an earlier sundown, less daylight hours. It increases depression and decreases productivity in about half of my psychiatric patients." In other words, he's having problems when the sun goes down, basically because people can't get outside. These messages make more important points, and I couldn't agree more. That's why I co-sponsored Senator Rubio's bill, the Sunshine Protection Act, which would make daylight savings time permanent. That would mean an extra hour of sunlight during the dark and cold winter months. And ahead of this weekend, when we start daylight savings time this coming Sunday, I want to take a moment to discuss the many reasons why we should do away with the outdated practice of springing forward and falling back. Daylight savings time should be a thing of the past because it literally is. Introduced as a temporary measure during World War I, daylight savings time was originally called, quote, wartime. And it was a way to help conserve fuel and better utilize resources. Following the end of World War I, the 1918 Standard Time Act was enacted that discontinued daylight savings time nationally, but individual states continued to spring forward and fall back. Then during World War II, there was a renewed federal push for full-time savings time when then was repealed in 1945. Finally, in 1966, Congress passed legislation to set a national standard time. All this to say, changes to our clocks might have made sense when it first began, but it certainly doesn't now. In fact, as recently as 2005, Congress moved the start of the date of daylight savings time 1 month earlier in the spring and 1 month later in the fall. This change was implemented in 2007, giving us the ratio of daylight savings time that we have now, 8 months to 4 months. The ways we consume energy has dramatically changed since the beginning of World War I. What started as an energy saver now just does not make sense for these modern times. To turn the clocks back each year is a nuisance and not smart policy. You know, kids get out of school and the sun is starting to set. Families in their kitchen are cooking dinner, and it seems more like a bedtime dinner. Weekends have less sunlight hours, limiting the amount of time folks of all ages can spend enjoying the outdoors. Additionally, reduced levels of sunlight are known to disrupt the body's internal clock, which regulates sleep and alertness. It is no wonder that cases of SAD, S-A-D, or seasonal affective disorder are much more common in the winter months than they are in the spring. And our farmers, longer days mean more time to work in the fields under sunlight, which translates to more profitable bottom line. From an economic perspective, the time change costs the United States economy an estimated $430 million annually in accounting for lost productivity in the change of sleep. That is why Alabama, along with 17 other states, have passed legislation or resolutions to flip the switch on this outdated practice, permanently increasing our daylight hours. However, for the will of the states to be enacted, the federal government, this body, this building, has to get involved. The 1966 law must be changed, and the Sunshine Protection Act does just that. The Sunshine Protection Act makes sense from a health and economic perspective, and it's just common sense. It's time we pass the Sunshine Protection Act. Let's give Americans something to celebrate: longer days and more sunshine.